Snow days in the 90s hit so different, because back then when you'd look through your blinds and see that the world was cool and quiet with fresh fallen snow, you had no idea whether or not you were going to school. No, you had to turn on the radio or turn on the TV, where there would be this little ticker that would go across the bottom of the screen listing the schools and districts that had closures, like a lottery or something. And if your district was listed as being closed, it felt like winning the lottery. Like you and your siblings would grab onto each other, jump up and down screaming, because this was the best thing that could possibly happen to you the entire year as a kid, outside of Christmas. Because the thing was, back then, time moved slower. There were fewer screens to compete for your attention, and a snow day felt like it was a day that you could do whatever you wanted that would last forever. And if you did want screen time, you had to be quick about it. You'd have to change the channel immediately to PBS to catch Clifford the Big Red Dog, Big Comfy Couch, or Arthur. And you'd watch those cartoons while you ate a bowl of cereal, and it didn't matter that soap operas were coming behind those, because you and your siblings were going to get bundled up and head out the door and go straight for the nearest hill. And that biggest hill in the neighborhood had the entire neighborhood there. You would play with an army of other kids all day long, well into the afternoon, building snowmen, snow forts, sledding, and you would have the most epic snowball fights known to man. There just aren't snowball fights like that anymore, because today kids stay home, they doom scroll on their phones, they meet up with friends online and play video games. Back then, there was none of that. Like, there was nowhere else any child would rather be than at the hill playing in the snow. And we would all play until we couldn't anymore, somewhere around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, where we would all trudge home, exhausted, wet, freezing. And we'd walk through the door into a home that was unlike homes today. Because back then, a lot of us were fortunate enough to have one parent working, and that worked back then. Like, you could support a family on one income. So mom was waiting at the door, where she'd complain about how wet and cold you were and the mess you were making. She'd help you out of your wet clothes and into some dry, warm pajamas. And then she'd take you into the kitchen table and sit you down with a lunch of grilled cheese, chicken noodle or tomato soup, and hot chocolate. And you will grow up, and you will eat at 5-star restaurants. You'll learn to cook, and you'll get really good at it, but you will never again taste anything as delicious as mom's homemade grilled cheese, soup, and hot chocolate on a snow day. And while you eat it, you'll be warm and cozy, but you'll still have this chill that goes down to your bones from being out in the cold all day long playing. And after lunch wraps up, and the light outside is starting to get dark again, if you're lucky enough to have cable, you might curl up and watch Cartoon Network. Maybe you grab some comic books and flip through those. And it was at the end of the day that most of us turned to our PlayStation 1 or N64 to wrap up a perfect day with. And what was so unusual and unique about snow days in the 90s is it didn't matter what part of the country you lived in, what grade you were in. When a snow day happened, we all experienced the exact same thing. And it was a day filled with pure joy, because whatever you did on a snow day, you did it for you. You didn't do it for likes. You didn't do it for views. You didn't care who was watching, because nobody was back then. And that's something that I just don't think kids today will ever understand.